So we covered this story a few months ago where this trans athlete, Sadie Schreiner, got banned from women's sports and took to social media to have a meltdown.
Less than 24 hours before I was supposed to step on the track to compete, Boston University sent me this email claiming that the executive order barred me from competing.
And as this was a few months ago, we thought this trans athlete in particular would have probably moved on from the situation. But that seems like it's not the case. It looks like we got a meltdown part 2.
Today I'm in Maine for a competition, and I very likely just ran what will be my last meet in the United States. USA Track and Field has been following the IOC's 2015 guidelines on transgender participation, which is the same thing the NCAA formerly based their participation on before they blanket banned trans athletes.
I like how accurate the fire, the reflection of the fire in the glasses, just representing how heated this guy is. That's kind of funny.
2 weeks ago, I competed at a USA Track and Field meet under those IOC guidelines, and I applied 2 weeks ago to compete at this meet in Maine under the same exact policy.
Okay.
However, at 1 a.m. the day before the meet, just as Boston University did to me, they tried to threaten me by saying they now adopted World Athletics transgender policy. This came despite the fact that they still had their IOC guidelines up in their policy, and there was no information anywhere that they had made this change. Unsurprisingly, they quietly updated their policy without any statement to follow World Athletics, putting in place a blanket ban the day of my competition. USA Track and Field purely did this just to ban me from competing. Now, with the NCAA banning me, with USA Track and Field banning me, with World Athletics banning me, and with colleges too scared to allow me to participate due to Trump's executive order,
I don't think they're scared. It's just unfair. It's really not rocket science. It really isn't. Even on this person's page, everyone in the comments is agreeing with what they've done. Guys, girls, it's surprising to see because normally the comments are, you know, crazy. But I don't think anyone's scared. People are banning trans athletes because it's simply not fair. But actually, I take that back. Probably the people competing against these people are scared. I can agree with that.
There is nowhere in the country that I'm able to compete. This is all happening, of course, the same weekend as NCAA Nationals, which I had qualified for and registered for, but they silently took my name off the list without any investigation or any due process because, you know, if you see my name on a list, meets will just ban me, regardless of anything. So that's pretty much it. USA Track and Field has silently banned trans athletes due to my participation.
Look at the fire. Look at the fire in the eyes. So accurate. I love it.
The NCAA has banned trans athletes due to my participation, and World Athletics banned trans athletes back in 2023, despite the Olympic Committee continuously finding trans athletes to have a disadvantage in athletics.
Sorry?
And all of this is, of course, without me ever being in the conversation. So I will find a way to continue competing, but I doubt that it'll be in the United States.
Trans athletes always have and always will belong in sports. I have all the evidence in the world to support my competition, but organisations refuse to meet with me before banning me. USATF had no merit or justification for this policy change and only made such a decision today to ban me. No matter what, I'll find a place to compete and continue to fight for the side of science and human rights. Wait, what? Wait, hold up. Hold up. Wait. Science? Are you sure about that one, mate? I'm not too sure about that. I think we can all agree that if this person wants to compete against dudes, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm not saying you shouldn't compete, but compete against what you are. And if you want to go by the side of science and human rights, you would do that. Because competing against the women, and we just had that fencing event where the woman actually took a knee because she was forced to face against a dude. She took a knee, she got disqualified and all this stuff. Absolutely crazy that this stuff even happens. But just compete against the fellas. If you really want to compete, do that. They want to compete against the girls because against the dudes, yeah, they won't even make the top 100. I doubt it. But guys, let me know what you think about this one in the comments. Let's discuss it. I'll be really interested to hear your thoughts. And speaking of that fencing event that happened recently, let's see what the hell happened.
We're interested in a female fencer stands up for fairness in women's sports. She did it by taking a knee and refusing to compete against a biological male at a tournament over the weekend.
Damn.
The referee's response, a black card, the sport's most severe penalty, which means expulsion from the tournament. Let's bring in the athlete at the center of it all, Stephanie Turner. And Stephanie, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So this was an Olympic qualifying event. My understanding of it is. This was something that you had prepared all your life for. It wasn't an Olympic qualifying event? I'm sorry. I had heard that this morning.
No, it wasn't.
It was an important event, though. And this is something that you've been preparing for an awfully long time. You decided that you were going to take yourself out of the tournament. What was the thinking in leading up to the decision where you took a knee?
This person was disqualified. That is crazy.
Right. So this was actually a regional tournament held by the USFA at the University of Maryland. So part of my pre-competition ritual is to check the online registration to see who is going to be there and just double check my check-in times. And on the registration list, I saw Redmond Sullivan's name listed there. And I recognized this individual from a previous Redux article that had been written stating that this person was a man who had previously competed on the men's team at Wagner.
And the officials that are running this event surely must know and agree with what she did. Like, they must know that it's not fair. It's crazy. Like, they should be backing her up.
And was now competing as a woman within the USFA. So from that point, I just got really disappointed with the USFA and with this tournament, and I just felt like at a loss. I'd already committed so much money to it and training hours, and I was literally looking forward to this. I do this tournament every year. Yeah. I think this may be like my 10th year in a row doing this tournament. And I just got really sad and I started crying because this was like the last thing I wanted to deal with in my competition.
Yeah, can you imagine training for years and years and years? You know, some people dedicate a lifetime to a sport, and you get there and, yeah, like she said, spent a lot of money and time and just made sacrifices, missed out on time with family to train for tournaments like this. And you get there and it's a dude. I mean, you can only imagine what she was thinking. And she probably took the knee, and, you know, fair play to her for that. I respect it because, yeah, there's just no point. Well, I mean, what's the point? It's just a shame that they didn't, you know, look out for her. They just disqualified her, gave her the black card. I mean, that's just outrageous.
So at one point in the video, so we see you take a knee, and then the official comes over. What did you say to the official at that point?
So the official came over to me and asked if I was still refusing to fence, and I said yes. Oh, and are you talking about initially, yes, or when I got the black card?
No, initially.
Initially, I told them that I was refusing to fence because this person is a man and I am a woman, and this is a women's tournament, and I refuse to fence on principle.
And then later, right after this, we see your opponent comes over. What did you say to your opponent at that point?
Look at that dude there. Jacked.
My opponent was a little bit confused, thinking that I was maybe hurt. And I said, no, I am refusing to fence you because I'm a woman and you are a man. I have much love and respect for you, but I will not compete against you.
Wow.
That's fair.
And he responded, okay, well, there's a, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, what was his response?
His response was, okay, but there's a member of the board of directors here, and he supports me, and there's a policy that says that I'm a woman and I'm allowed to compete in the women's tournament, and if you do this, you're going to get black carded. And I said,
well, yeah, she did get black carded, but if someone had said this to us, guys, 10, 15 years ago, we would have laughed. We would have laughed. I can't believe this is even a reality.
Said, I know.
So here's what USA Fencing said in a statement to Fox News Digital. USA Fencing enacted our current transgender and non-binary athlete policy in 2023. The policy was designed to expand access to the sport of fencing and create inclusive, safe spaces. It goes on to talk more, but this idea about inclusive, safe spaces, what about inclusive, safe spaces for female athletes?
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing for me and there's everything for him. Because I have no choice as a woman, as a female, in where I compete. I am a woman and I have an athletic disadvantage to men.
Yeah, she's completely right. And that dude there, the official, he didn't even hesitate to pull out the black card. He didn't even think about it.
So I compete in the women's division, which is where I rightfully am. But he has been given this opportunity to fence in the women's division, and he can compete. He can easily compete in the men's division. He could also compete at mixed events in local tournaments if he wants.
Yeah, and they don't want to. They want to compete against the women because it's easier competition. Like, I don't mean that in a horrible way, but I mean that they're at a physical advantage because they're a male. So for that man, it's going to be easier for him than competing against other men because we know they'd get smoked.
There is a place for him. So the idea that they're creating, they're expanding the women's is just essentially making it an open tournament that can include men, and it ends up hurting me and other girls.
So you've got the support of Riley Gaines, who was on our network earlier today, and former tennis star Martina Navratilova, who put this out on X. She said, "This is what happens when female athletes protest. Anyone here still think this is fair? I am fuming, and shame on USA Fencing. Shame on you for doing this. How dare you throw women under the gender BS bus?" I mean, this doesn't come at the expense of male athletes. We don't see this in the flip side of the coin. This all comes at the expense of female athletes like yourself, like Riley Gaines, like the girls who lost that race by 7 seconds in Oregon, like the girls who lost the pole vault event.
Like I said, guys, we know why. We know why these dudes are in women's sports. We know why.
And in Maine. I mean, this is happening across the country.
Right.
And to a large degree, women support this.
Yeah, the women supporting it are the ones who don't compete or have never competed in their life. They're the ones supporting this.
Right, it's happening in every sport and at every level, and there's really no option to go around this when there are extremists who take up positions within the authoritative body of the USFA. So I have very little option other than being forced to fence. And I have gone down other pathways, like back in 2023 Summer Nationals, I just didn't sign up to fence in the Div 1A women's foil because there was another transgender person that I'd recognized in that tournament. So, I mean, I've avoided it as much as I can, but at what point do I have to just avoid all tournaments altogether because there's going to be somebody who's trans there?
Yeah, why should they be forced to compete against men? And I know a lot of these trans athletes are complaining that women don't want to compete against them, but why don't they're not banned from competing? They keep saying they're banned from competing. They're not. They should be banned from competing against women. And why not compete against the men? Just, if you really want to compete against them.
It's a tough choice. As you point out, your opponent had two choices: could compete as a biological male or could compete in the women's. You have the choice of competing in the women's. So, Stephanie, thank you for telling your story. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely flipping crazy. And I saw this story come up and I wanted to wait to, watch this with you guys because, man, I'm not surprised, but I am at the same time because I still find it crazy to believe that this all happens. But the fact that this athlete dedicated so much to this sport and they didn't even back her up or even tell her that when you get it, you're going to be competing against a dude. I mean, there's got to be people there that know this is unfair, but there's nothing they can do. And there's a lot of women and men for that matter who are supporting this that, there shouldn't be gender categories in sports, but these people have never done a sport in their life. They have no idea. Anyone who's done a sport knows that gender categories must be there, because otherwise it's just going to be unfair. And these people are all for fairness. It's not like she's got anything against that person. She just wants fair competition, which she absolutely has the right to say and do. Guys, again, let me know what you think in the comments. Absolutely crazy.
There's no end to the backlash that you may face. There are quite a lot of women who are witnessing, men in their sports, and they're trying to save their own sports on their own. And it's hard to come out because you essentially nuke your whole life. You can face social ostracism. You can have financial blowback. You could have training disrupted, and you could have, officials or referees now not being very favorable toward you for the rest
Exactly what I said watching this. They just don't favor her at all.
of your life. There's no end to the backlash that you may face. It's not fun being on the receiving end of this. It's not what I wanted to do.
That's how, it's just bonkers this all is. How can this athlete get backlash? Who the hell in their right mind would listen to this story and decide to give her backlash like she's in the wrong? That's how bonkers the world is, guys. Like, I went on TikTok looking for like updates about this and see what people are saying, and I thought there'd be a lot of people saying what me and you are thinking, or what we're saying, but there isn't. There's so many people giving her backlash, like she's this, giving her all the labels, and it's like, I've got no words, man. The world is
bonkers, and it helps to have people who acknowledge that it takes some sort of sacrifice to bring attention to an issue.
Yeah, I saw one video of this woman. She basically said how this woman, Stephanie, she did this to like propel herself on social media, to get a following, like all this crazy stuff, and saying how she's crap at fencing, she's got like 4 or 5 losses in a row. Like any of that matters. Like, that's not the point of what she did. So trying to like belittle this woman for not being the #1 female fencer is just absolutely crazy. Like, people forget the reason as to what she did, and I respect this woman. I'm on her side 1,000,000%, and I'm sure you guys are as well. But there is people out there who have been sending this woman threats and calling her names and belittling her and turning up to her house. I've heard on some articles. It's just crazy. Like, people go to extreme measures, and she hasn't done anything wrong. She's just trying to be fair, and you got these people giving her backlash. I don't know what runs through these people's brains that are giving her so much backlash for this, because I know we just watched everything that happened, but I did not think she would be getting so much hate. So much hate, where, like I said, people are turning up to where she flipping lives as well. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say, and I'm pretty sure it's along the same lines of what I'm saying.
It defies common sense, it defies logic, and the fact that they've sold this policy as being about inclusivity, whereas clearly women are being excluded and having to withdraw from competitions, and also in the US it impacts on scholarships. So, so actually it's a much bigger issue even than just sport.
And it's health and safety as well, because I understand the type of fencing that this entails. A saber, it's a larger weapon. To be hit by a male, I imagine, would be different from a woman. I'll pay someone later to find out for myself. But there are those implications as well. And as you say, and I think this is, of course, what we've seen across this whole movement, gender ideology, is that what's done in the name of inclusion, of course, actually means exclusion.
Yes, yeah, I think she was incredibly brave to take the action that she did, and I think it's it's one of those images that's quite iconic, her sort of taking the knee and refusing to participate, and that will have an impact on her career, on her, of course it will, as the policy. So it was changed in 2023, but actually Redux did quite a good, the magazine did quite a good in-depth dive into this, and it's been going on for about a decade. And there were some sort of key players who are trans activists who have put themselves on the board of USA Fencing, and that's why this issue has become so quickly ingrained.